Carol Kauffman, I think you are up next. Bring your book up. Carol has written a book. I wish we could put the picture up there. I ran into Carol and her family in Virginia many years ago. I was speaking at a church, and somebody had invited the Kauffman family to come, and we took this picture in front of the display, and I still have that. Actually, Carol said it's in the book. I read Carol's book in one setting. One Sunday, I just sat down and read through the whole thing. Oh, there it is. Yes. Wow. We all looked younger.
I actually look younger now that I get there.
Oh, you do? Anyways, I'm so excited to hear Carol's. You'll have to listen to her story, but even more than that, buy her book. She's got them in the back. And I so badly want you to get the book. It's so powerful. This girl has, the only word that I can think of when I see Carol is audacity. Nothing kept Carol from going forward. So there you go, Carol.
Thank you. So I grew up in Arthur, Illinois as an old order Amish. I got married there to an Amish boy in April of 1999. In 2003, after we'd had 2 kids, we moved to Parisburg, Virginia. There was a small Amish community there that was a lot more conservative than what we were used to. That's fine. My ex-father-in-law wanted us to go visit because he was just so enthralled with how they did things. They didn't have any motors. They only had kerosene lamps. Very conservative. We went and visited a couple months after we got married, and it was all very quaint, but that wasn't for us. And then by 2003, they had allowed a lot of things. They had these chest freezers that they had a cooler compressor in, and you hooked it up to this little motor, and they put water in it and made ice. That was your ice box. And they'd allowed a lot of things, so we moved. And we were searching for truth and thought the community in Virginia had it figured out better than Arthur did. The youth in Arthur were, and still are, kind of a mess. They had a lot of good points, but eventually we realized that it's the same old story, just dressed in different clothes and hiding behind different, more strict rules. One of the people that helped us realize this was a very special lady named Diane. She has gone to be with Jesus after a fierce battle with cancer. I met her one day after we had the 4 oldest kids. We quickly became very good friends. When we were deciding to leave the Amish, she was the one person I could talk to. She didn't really understand because she'd never been Amish, but she did everything she possibly could to help us. She was working with Head Start, which is like a preschool program, in the home-based section where she would go out to people's homes and teach their kids there. And we had wanted her to come out and see if our oldest daughter, Sue Ellen, had ADHD because she was extremely active. And so she started coming out, and my ex-husband actually asked her, thinking back that I actually went along with this and thought it was a good thing, we asked her to wear long sleeves and long dresses and stockings to come out to our house. And looking back, it just blows my mind that we felt that was necessary. But she did it because she wanted to help us. She showed me that you can love Jesus, be a woman, and have a voice. We left the Amish with our 6 kids in June of 2009, right after the youngest was born. That's when I met Joe Keim. Like he said, Diane is the one that introduced us. She'd heard of Matt Ministries and invited him to speak at a local church we were attending. As my kids got older, they asked me if I had known what we would endure for the next 10 or so years if I would have left the Amish. I don't really know the answer to that, maybe if I could have seen the outcome. I know that every step I took for several years felt like I was like Peter and just stepping out of the boat. Because I could not see how this could possibly work out. Like, you leave with your husband and children thinking this is a team effort, and everything just hits the fan, and it's like... Soon after leaving the Amish, I realized that the person I was married to and thought I knew so well was hiding a dark side. I believed that he had been so conditioned to follow the rules and be a good Amish boy that he hadn't formed his own convictions of right and wrong. He did or did not do things because the Amish said so, not because he believed it to be right or wrong in God's eyes. When there were no rules to follow, he lost his way. People would ask me, people that knew us, would ask me what happened, and I don't know except that. He just had no personal convictions, and when there was no church discipline hanging over his head, he just did everything that his flesh could think to do. Things started coming to light that he was caught up in. First it was drugs and infidelity, and then he moved out because he needed to think. Money was always an issue. Like, there was times that my kids, I wrote in my book about, he would be gone for 4 days and wouldn't answer the phone. I didn't have a car. We had like, 6 hot dogs? And the kids ate them for breakfast, and I told them I wasn't hungry. I don't remember that. They do. Anyway, after 2 separations, 2 arrests with drug charges, months of attending NA meetings, and more infidelity, I came to a shocking realization. Contrary to what I had been taught and conditioned to believe, God does not love my marriage more than the defenseless ones in it, myself and my children. For our safety, I filed for divorce. When a person is in the drug world, their family is no longer safe. If he was selling drugs, he wasn't just using them, he was selling them. And I know for a fact that there were people outside our house sometimes, probably that meant to harm us. I also know there was DA officers up in the woods sometimes monitoring our house after his first arrest. As you can imagine, my family was horrified. In 2016, he went to prison for 3 years on drug charges. Our divorce was final in summer of 2017, I believe. In early 2017, I went to school for 4 weeks to get my CNA license, and I started working at a nursing home. From 2017 to 19, I was in school working on getting my LPN license. Those 10 years from 2009 to 19 were hands down the hardest I have ever been through. Raising 6 kids alone, working and going to school, some days I was so tired I wanted to just lie down and die. 5 of my kids are here today, and I want to publicly thank them for being my reason to keep going. They cooked and cleaned, and they helped me study. The older ones took care of the younger ones. They took themselves to church at times when I couldn't go because I had my nose in a book. If they ever doubted that I could do it, they never said it out loud. Very rarely did they complain about the extra load they were carrying. I know that I leaned too heavily on them at times, and they took burdens they shouldn't have had to. God has put people in our lives that became family when our blood family rejected us. Sometimes people I barely knew spoke words of life and encouragement over me and my kids. There's actually a lot of people here in Ohio and Holmes County that are my family. Away from my family, I have a lady that I call Mama Fanny. She lives in Middlefield, Ohio. Her whole family they just have to share their mom, that's all. Last year, I wrote a book. It is titled Out of Egypt, From Amish Girl to Nurse, The Wilderness Between. I lost my place. Many people over the years have told me I should write my story. I laughed at them because who would actually want to read it? Not only that, did I really want people to know all the gross, embarrassing details. One day during a visit, my doctor told me I should write my story. I laughed again until she put her finger in my face and said, "Carol, you need to write your story. People need to hear it." Like, she got up in my face. And it was the first time I'd ever seen her. That was in January of last year. By June, I was ready to publish it, and I'm going to read the introduction. This is a story, my story, of growing up Amish in a large Amish community in Illinois, of moving to a very small community far away in Virginia with my husband, learning that Jesus is the way, the truth, and the life. There is no other way besides Jesus that we can come to the Father, John 14:6. Not by being born to certain parents, going to a certain church, or following man-made rules that make us feel so righteous, but really are as filthy rags to Heavenly Father, Isaiah 64:6. This is a story of great oppression, darkness, and fear, spiritual and emotional, to great freedom, provision, and protection. I have literally felt like the children of Israel coming out of bondage in great fear, not knowing what the future held. Holding tight to the truths I had learned, feeling deep inside there was more to life, searching, knocking, and wandering, all along knowing with a certainty that Dad had my back, my front, and my sides. I was protected, provided for, and so deeply loved. Like the children of Israel, the journey has been long and often almost impossible, but God. As I write and relive the memories, I weep, with sadness for that little girl that was not protected and had no voice, for the spiritual abuse, shame, and condemnation that was wrongfully heaped on my head, for the shunning and excommunication that will never go away, for the marriage that was supposed to last forever but ended because of circumstances out of my control and the selfish choices of another human being. I weep for the lost relationships. I laugh because there were good times. God sent people into my life to hold up my weary arms and to encourage me. I call them God with skin on. Men and women who accepted me and loved me in all my quirky ways and goofy humor. I have learned a day without laughter truly is wasted. Even through the hard times, you must learn to laugh at yourself. A good laugh will cure a lot of stress. Some days you laugh because if you don't, you will cry or scream. Choose to laugh. Sometimes you gotta cry too. At this point in my life, I feel like I have arrived in the promised land, a place where milk and honey flows, where life is good, most days. There's life and light, love, abundance, and healing. I have my dream career of nursing. My children are decently good human beings. They love their mama and each other. We are not perfect. We fight, we make up, and we have drama. We laugh at things we shouldn't, and we're loud, very loud. However, we love each other and others. Their friends are automatically my kids, and they call me Mom. All the names and places are real. This story is not written to cast shade on anyone or any group. It is not written to elevate any person except, of course, my daddy God. It is my story, my truth, my life, and my healing. The real whole purpose is to encourage others who are walking a similar path that it is possible. God does have your back. You are never, ever stuck. There is grace and forgiveness, and God knows how human you are. Last December, I was supposed to have court for child support. Since 2016, there has only been a little over 1.5 years of child support. The rest of the time, I have been 100% provided for and cared for my kids. Then I found out the court was postponed to February because his attorney couldn't be in court that day. I was angry. I felt like no one cared or no one that could do anything about it. I had sent countless emails and made so many phone calls. Still, he was out there doing his thing and not being held accountable. I was in my room, face down on my bed, sobbing. I thought back over the years, all the times I was treated unjustly, blamed, abused, and rejected. I asked God, where is your vengeance? Your word says, vengeance is mine, I will repay. When? I heard him say, Carol, you have believed all these years. No one stands up for you in your pain. I am your advocate. I'm going before you in this, trust me. Now, over the years, I have firmly believed that God is my provider. There were countless times I know he opened doors and made a way. Still, there was a tiny part of me that felt like there was no justice. I'll be the first to tell my kids, fair isn't something that happens to you. Fair is a place you go to get rides and cotton candy. Still, when the injustices are so huge, it is human to want fair and to want to see justice. The morning of court in February, I thank God that He is my advocate, my counsel, and my representative. I walked into court with no expectations, but knowing that whatever happened, the kids and I were going to be okay. I may or may not have asked God for justice too. The one thing I want everyone to know today is that God is angry over the wrongs done to you. He hates abuse of any kind. He advocates and takes up for the vulnerable. Do you know that He understands your anger? I thought for a long time God would be offended if I expressed anger because that would mean I wasn't trusting Him. That is baloney. He made you and He knows all the little details of the evil, horrid things you have endured. He hurt with you. I used to think that God allowed bad things to happen to me. In a sense, yes. He gave all of us free will to choose to do good or evil. There's a natural cause and effect. One person chooses to do evil and someone else gets hurt. Because of that, He can't always protect us from the wrong choices of others. He will, however, always use our pain for our growth. In Psalms 56, it says He even bottles our tears. That is how much He cares about your pain. He never says, yeah, so unfortunate that happened. Too bad, huh? Be strong. Put on your happy face. Stay sweet. Oh, you're depressed? Where's your faith? Have you prayed about it? I bet you're not reading your Bible enough. Have you tried that? We do need to seek healing for the traumas we endure. Stuffing things into the dark recesses of our mind is not helpful because guess what? One day, something happens to remind us of that thing we hid back there in the corner, and it tumbles out to hurt someone else in an emotional, angry outburst. There's actually a book written on this called Feelings Buried Alive Never Die by Carol K. Truman. You should read it. Healing is hard, but so is trying to keep all the anger and pain and horrible memory stuff down. Daryl, you can come up. Don't stay stuck. It's so much more fun on the other side. There's so much freedom to be found in healing. There's light and life and laughter. Being able to be authentically you is so amazing. If you think you can't be that vulnerable with a therapist or someone you don't know, let me tell you, there is nothing you can tell them they haven't heard so many times over. This song my son is going to play was introduced to me by a very sweet lady named Ruth Stoll that I got to know just before we left the Amish. I talk about her in my book. She was one of my God with skin on. I hope it ministers to you like it did to me.
My heart is like a house. One day I'll let the Savior in. There are so many rooms we would visit now and then. But then one day he saw that door. Knew the day had come too soon. I said, Jesus, I'm not ready for us to visit in that room. 'Cause that's the place in my heart where even I don't go. I have some things hidden there I don't want no one to know. But he handed me the key with tears of love on his face. He said, I want to make you clean. Let me in your secret place. So I opened up the door, and as the two of us walked in, I was so ashamed. His light revealed my hidden sin. But when I think about that room now, I'm not afraid anymore, 'cause I know my hidden sin no longer hides behind that door. There was a place in my heart where even I wouldn't go. I had some things sitting there I didn't want no one to know, but he handed me the key with tears of love on his face, and he made me clean. I let him in my secret place.
That was so awesome. Daryl, thank you. I was told this morning that the whole family believes Daryl has a gift to sing, but Daryl doesn't really think he does. I'm with you, family. He needs to sing. That is so powerful. Wasn't it awesome? Wasn't it just so awesome? Carol would have had a million reasons to quit. A million reasons. And she wouldn't. To see all those children over there sitting beside their mother, there's just something about that you can't, I don't even have words for that. Thank you, children. Thank you for sticking with your mom. Thank you for, yes. It had to be so hard sometimes, but you stuck in there. You'll have a story to tell your children, and it'll go to the grandchildren. Precious.
It was telling me, climb out of the boat, take a walk on the way, some places you'll never go, till you step out on faith. Don't fear the wind or the rain. Jesus called you, now go. Others might think you're insane. Just climb